Welcome to Conquering Your Clownfish, a podcast dedicated to transforming disabilities into special abilities. I'm your host, Brady Murray. Welcome to the Conquering Your Clownfish and See the Miracle podcast, a special episode for both platforms today. Today's guests are a powerhouse father and son filmmaking team with a mission and a story you won't want to miss. David and Jackson Hughens are redefining what it means to create with purpose. David is an award-winning writer and director who made his debut feature, Elvis's Grave, at a remarkably young age, overcoming significant challenges along the way. His son, Jackson, made waves early on as a viral YouTube creator, racking up over 50 million views with his compelling and relatable content. He's honed his craft at Warner Media and as an assistant editor on feature films, building an impressive foundation behind the camera. Together with Rod's Heroes, they are on a global journey, filming mini-documentaries that shine a light on individuals in the Down syndrome community, all while pushing forward on their passion project, a feature film titled Made with Love. Guys, it's great to have you on the show. This is going to be a fun episode today.
Hello, sir. Thank you for having us on.
Yes, thank you.
Yep, this has been a lot of fun. You know, I first found out about you guys from a dear friend of ours, a mutual friend, Misty Snyder, and she had told us about the videos that you guys are doing. And so I had to go and check it out. And I saw these mini docs that were sharing the light and sharing the love of individuals with Down syndrome. We had the chance to go together to Armenia, Jackson, and have an amazing experience there. And then, David, we had the chance to host you and Jackson out here in Utah at our home and then doing some different mini docs just a few months ago. And so this has been a lot of fun to be able to work so closely with you guys on this work that is so important.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are excited about the future and what we're doing. We're just, always pinch ourselves and go, hey, man, we're hanging out with the best people on the planet.
Yeah,
You really are.
yeah. And I'm so glad that you took us up on working together and that you let me come along on the Armenia trip as somebody who I feel like that was like towards right before you guys were going to go. You've been building up to this for so long, and it was like, hey, can I come along with a camera? And you were down for it. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is unique. Number one, this is the first episode that we've ever done that is a father-son duo. So kudos to you guys. Maiden voyage here. As well, this is a unique episode because honestly, I don't know if I've ever met somebody that has an affinity and a love, an appreciation, and just really gets it when it comes to Down syndrome that doesn't have an immediate child or a sibling or direct family member that has Down syndrome. This is something that's truly built in organically with you, and would love to hear, what is the connection to Down syndrome? How did you grow this and understand such a deep and amazing thing without having a direct connection that way?
Yeah. So the story begins basically about 5 years ago. God called me back into filmmaking. Jackson was already in Atlanta, Georgia, working in the film industry. And I moved down there during the middle of the pandemic. And a good friend of mine who lived in Atlanta had adopted a young man with Down syndrome, probably about 12 years ago. And we started hanging out just since we were there. And Jay is his name. And he found out that we were into filmmaking. And he said, well, I've always wanted to be a movie star. He would share the story that his grandmother told him to go out in the world and shine his light. And he thought that meant to be a movie star. I said, well, that's great. He goes, you should make a movie about me. I said, well, what would that be about, Jay? He goes, well, just go home, think about me, and write. And I did that. And in 2 weeks, I had a feature-length screenplay. And that screenplay has won over 40 awards in film festivals around the world. So that was our introduction into the world and the community, the Down syndrome community. I mean, I started kind of seeking out the community to make sure that the screenplay I was writing was going to put the Down syndrome community in the best light possible. And the more we delved into that, the more we fell in love.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but it really all started because of Jay, because our friends adopted him and brought him in. And for me, like, I grew up in high school. In my high school, everybody with disabilities was kind of segregated to like the corner of the cafeteria, and you really had to make an effort to engage. So I'm glad that Jay was brought in by our family friend, because it was the exposure that I needed to see this beautiful community that I was missing out on, because he just came right up to us and he's like, "Hey, color Disney princesses with me," and he's like, "I'll give you a foot massage." And it was like, as a 16-year-old, when I first met him that time, I was like, "What?" But now I'm like, man, this is the party that I've been missing out on. So I'm glad that that's how it happened.
Most definitely. And so you came up with the screenplay, and you have a vision and an idea and a goal to be able to bring this to the big screen. And so I would love to hear, as you've been working towards that goal, how you came across these mini documentaries that you're doing.
Yeah, so basically we had the idea to shoot the feature film, and we came up with the budget and started working toward that. We did some crowdfunding, and we started a social media campaign. The crowdfunding, we had these videos that we put out, that basically a kind of a promotional video.
Yeah, it was with us and Jay and some local people we knew in the Down syndrome community through Jay, and parents talking about their child with Down syndrome. And that was making up these videos. But people were commenting on those promotional videos, like on Facebook or Instagram,
Got
and
you.
relating their personal stories. So it became very clear to us that, okay, this is bigger than just Jay and the local community here in Atlanta.
Yeah, I would sit and read these comments and just weep at the stories people were sharing about their loved ones with Down syndrome and beyond. I mean, it might be somebody that had somebody with cerebral palsy or spina bifida or whatever, but it was all these beautiful stories and people just pouring their hearts out and comment after comment. And that's, like Jackson said, there's so many more stories out there. So, it's the economy's been rough over the past couple of years. Hollywood has been up and down with, their industry. And, so it's taken us a little while to try to raise the money. So we said, well, what can we do? And we said, what if we just got in our car and drove around and started telling all these stories that we're hearing about, and just get out and spread out our network and get to know the community better. So kind of a grassroots marketing effort. And it's the same mission as we had with the film. And so we set out a little over a year ago to start doing that.
And hence the creation and the birth of Made with Love. What an amazing, amazing YouTube channel. For those of you that haven't seen that, I would highly encourage you to go check it out. It's on YouTube. It's called Made with Love, and you have dozens of mini documentaries, typically 12 to 18, 20-minute mini documentaries telling stories about individuals and their families who have Down syndrome, and they like grab a tissue and also get ready to laugh out loud, because these are pretty incredible. So that was the inspiration. That was the idea. That was how you got into these mini docs, and it has literally taken you across the entire nation. As you look and you meet these families and you hear these stories, now that you're on the other side of it, I mean, you've done truly dozens of these. What have you learned?
Oh, I mean, like I said, we pinch ourselves all the time saying we're spending time with the most beautiful people on the planet. And so what we learned, and kind of what we were learning in the beginning, was the worth and value of people with Down syndrome, and how families would share with us, what we thought might be a hardship or a burden has turned out to be a blessing beyond measure. And we just see that over and over again. And everybody we meet is different. They have their unique personalities and what they bring to the world, but they all are worthy and deserve inclusion in everything that we do. And that's the message of our feature film as well. Jackson and I have discovered things about ourselves along the way, and just we strive to be better humans because of the example of those that we've met with Down syndrome. The unconditional love, the lack of malice, the forgiveness, just so many things, the tenderness, the kindness, the humor. I mean, there's something funny with everybody we meet, and we always.
Yeah, we collect little quotes and sound bites, as we call them in the film world, like little lines. I mean, I guess like every movie has like a famous line,
Yeah.
and we kind of collect those from each person we visit and each documentary that we make. I mean, I just think about Cooper. When we came and filmed Cooper and Nash, he jumped up and gave us a big hug there the day that we left. And like he literally jumped up onto us and we were holding him.
Yeah.
That's never happened in any of our documentaries before. So just that love and that joyful spirit that he has is incredible.
Yeah. That's a unique thing that I see with individuals that have Down syndrome. Oftentimes, when you meet them for the first time, I see this with my boys all the time. My boys just go in for a hug, and this is just a grown man. In fact, we were at a camping trip this last weekend, and we went up, and there were some people that were up there, and like this, grown man in camping attire and a beard and just kind of little, rough around the edges, it looked like. And Nash just goes right up to him and he puts out his hand and just Nash goes in for the hug, because that's how they are. Like everybody is their friend and they are accepting of everybody. And that's one thing that is true about this community.
Yeah, it's what everybody needs, And I'll say we have learned a lot of like small lessons in love, just like simple lessons that they don't teach in school that we could all really benefit from, like how everybody could use a hug sometimes, or just being grateful, or letting everybody in the room know that you love them. But also, I'll say, like, on a bigger note, we've also seen this through line of how we've asked, like, what's the challenge? We've asked parents or individuals with Down syndrome, what has the challenge been throughout your life? And it's not a challenge that comes from within of having Down syndrome. It's most of the time the answer is society. It's an external challenge of society's uneducated misconceptions. And there is some hatred as well, but a lot of the times there's just a lot of lack of education. And so that's why we get so fired up, because it's like we could really make a lot of change. There's people who are willing to change if they just were presented the right information.
Yeah, most definitely. When I had heard about you guys, it was about a year ago now. It was last summer, late summer, and I saw these videos. I immediately wanted to be a part of it with Rod's Heroes because our mission is to uncover the superpowers of individuals with Down syndrome. And one of the ways we do that is through storytelling. And I just felt like these are the stories that Jackson and David are sharing that are truly uncovering the superpowers of individuals with Down syndrome. And so we've produced together, maybe a dozen or so videos. We'll end up with around 30 by the end of the year that are out and published. And I just can't wait to see the results of that. And I've been so excited about the results that we've seen recently. So this is awesome. Super fun to be able to see this. I actually want to go back to the movie and Jay. Jay's story is unique, and I wanted to see if you'd be open to sharing a little bit more about Jay's story, because this is a unique story, and share a little more on the movie.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, Jay met my friend and her family through school. My friend's daughter went to high school with Jay, and they formed a bond and a relationship. And Jay was living with his mother, and she was going to be moving out of state. And Jay had made so many friends, he didn't want to leave, but there was no way really for him to stay there by himself. So my friend's daughter, who was about to move off to college, was like, "Well, Mom, I want to adopt Jay." And my friend Dawn was like, "Well, honey, I don't think you can take him to your dorm at college." I think Jay would have loved
Yeah,
that.
of course.
Absolutely. So my friend Dawn stepped up and adopted Jay and took Jay into their family and their household. They have a big family. So Jay just joined in, and Jay and my friend Dawn have just been inseparable. They are just such good buddies. They hang out together. He goes to work with my friend Dawn, and everywhere she goes, she takes Jay. And so it's just been a wonderful bond there.
I mean, at one point before he ever told us to make the movie about him, you were brainstorming the idea of a reality show that follows him around because he's with her everywhere she goes, and she'll be having meetings with clients, and he's there winning everybody over, and pitching his ideas to them. He's got his coloring company. I mean, the movie is kind of just one avenue in his life. He's got a lot on his. He's a Renaissance man, true Renaissance man. He's got his coloring business and
his foot rubbing business.
Foot rubbing, like, that's serious. He's got this whole kit, like he's like a certified masseuse.
Yeah.
And he does cheer. He does cheer as well with Lucy, who's Dawn's daughter.
Cheer competition.
Yeah, cheer competition.
Serious stuff.
So he's, one of the male cheerleaders, hoisting people up in the air.
Amazing.
He's got a really well-rounded life.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were just inspired by that because once again, my perspective was uneducated, and the way that in school, what I saw was just, oh, if you are neurotypical, you just stay in your lane, you just stay over here, and you just try to be successful, lead a life where you achieve a bunch of stuff. So that was kind of my perspective was changed when we met Jay. And that night that you really were inspired by him to write the movie, the day that he told you go home and write was Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And you, me, and Jay were all cooking in the kitchen together and working together, which for me, now, like, I realize how educated I was, because to me that was like so eye-opening that he was so focused and engaged and that he worked so well with us in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and he wanted to get right in there. And I was like, well, go ahead, Jay, work on this. And he got in there and was patient and focused, did the work. And that kind of really inspired me as I wrote the screenplay, which brings in the element of cooking. The title is called Made with Love. And we believe individuals with Down syndrome are made with love. Everybody's
Yeah.
made with love. But the cooking term, like, oh, I'm making this dish with love. So that's where kind of the beginning of the idea came from. But
That's
Jay, I
great.
mean, if you ever meet Jay, he's just so charismatic. He has this magnetic personality, and I could just see him on the big screen. And so
Definitely.
after we did our initial crowd fundraising, we decided to shoot what I call a proof of concept. And we hired a crew, and we decided to go ahead and hire the best crew we could hire because we wanted it to look like a true Hollywood feature film. So we hired people who had worked on Marvel movies. They're in the Atlanta area. We rented the best equipment. We got a studio and brought this team together.
And we shot about 8 minutes of the feature film script. So
Yeah.
it's like kind of like test footage to prove, like, here's a sample of what the full thing would be.
Yeah. And we hired a couple of veteran Hollywood actors that have been in the industry over 30 years. And we put Jay right there in the middle of the mix. So
Right.
what I wanted to prove was I can direct, and I can direct this caliber of professional people and actors, and that Jay can handle it. And Jay handled it with flying colors.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a grueling 4-day shoot because we only had that long to shoot. And there were long days. I remember Jay was in the throes of allergies. He was not feeling well,
Dang.
but the guy hung right in there, and every crew member was very impressed with Jay and his abilities. And
Yeah. So, we've seen it. And so you see it in multiple facets. So one, the screenplay and just this proof of concept and the overall response has been extremely positive for what you have found with this movie. But we have a perfect example of a movie featuring as a main actor, an individual with Down syndrome in the movie Peanut Butter Falcon. And
Yeah.
that movie did exceptionally well at the box office. And then you have these mini docs that each one is doing its own special thing, and the response has been incredible. Last time I looked, total subscribers that we have on the Made with Love channel is 112,000, if I'm not mistaken. And so there's 112,000 people that just over, a little more than a year have subscribed that want to be able to see these movies. And so there's no doubt that any of us that have experienced Down syndrome or that special feeling and that special uniqueness of a disability that comes in just that form of light and unconditional love, people want this and they want to see this and they want to feel this. And so it just makes sense that a feature length film would be produced featuring another individual that has Down syndrome. The hurdle, I mean, if we're just going to be speaking openly on this, is the hurdle is the finances. It doesn't, these movies are not cheap, and they have to be funded. There has to be financial backing in order to do that. And so that's really the place where we come right now, right? Is I'm hearing that the movie, the proof of concept excels. The mini docs are crushing it. There's already been a feature length movie. Now it's just a matter of finding funding to be able to bring this movie and bring it to the world and tell Jay's story. So that sounds like that's where we're at right now. Is that fair?
That is fair. That is fair. I think we have laid the groundwork and the foundation. We have proven ourselves with, the awards the screenplay has received. We've shown the proof of concept, which in the title, proof of concept.
Yes.
we see the audience, and it's great that we've been able to do these mini documentaries and get out there and spread the word in a grassroots fashion.
Yes.
We see the audience that is, like you said, passionate about this content and wanting to see more. I mean, I had a comment today on one of the videos, and it said, I needed to see this, and I am now going out and volunteering at my local Gigi's Playhouse, which is a center for people with disabilities and Down syndrome. So it's making people move and take action, and it's spreading the love.
Yeah, there's it's like the best kept secret that's in society today, and it knows no bounds by way of race, by way of age, by way of political backgrounds, by way of where you live geographically. I mean, you experienced it firsthand, Jackson, in Armenia, that there is a spirit, there is a love in Down syndrome. It is a superpower. And it has the ability to be able to change hearts of individuals, of families, of communities, of nations when that superpower is brought to the world, when it is exposed and given the opportunity for these individuals to sing the song they're meant to sing. And so, for a decade plus, we've been seeking to share stories and to be able to story tell, because that is by far and away the best avenue to be able to do it. But I just feel so thankful and so just grateful that we have had this opportunity to collaborate together on these Made with Love videos, because it's getting the best kept secret in the world out to the world. And honestly, I feel like we're just getting started with this.
Yeah, there are so many more stories to tell. And as much as we want to make Jay's feature film, and Jay calls us almost nightly, and Jay has not forgotten about it. And he's
got new ideas
every time. Hey, what can I do? Let's get this movie made. So, we want to get Jay's dream up there on the screen, but we love making these mini documentaries, and I don't see us stopping. I mean, I see us going in tandem with the film and just continuing on, because there's so many beautiful stories out there. And the world, don't you think the world could use more love right now?
No question. That is the, talking to a cooking reference, that is the secret recipe that I think could create a lot of good, more good in the world that is much needed right now. And that is the secret recipe of Down syndrome.
Amen.
The reality is, you and I, all three of us have talked about this for quite a few months now. It's not even just Jay's film. I feel like Jay's film could be a catalyst to open up the doors, but I feel like there are multiple feature-length films about individuals with Down syndrome that would be a tremendous way to be able to get that superpower into the world. It really just comes back to funding. And so this is a unique thing that I've seen with Rod's Heroes is, over the years, we've been fortunate to be able to see millions, literally millions of dollars raised. And I remember it all started with us just going to family and friends one Christmas and saying, don't buy us gifts. Please donate to this little boy in Lithuania that we've come across that we want to try and help for an adoption grant. And through this process over the last decade plus, I just have found that when we allow ourselves to get caught up in a cause bigger than ourselves, we will witness miracles. And as we keep our hearts pure, our intents pure, and are willing to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, doors open. And miracles happen in ways that we just simply can't describe or plan for. And they just, doors open and seas part in a way for these miracles to happen. And so for me, I'm a huge fan of you guys, and I'm a big believer in the movie. I'm a big believer in getting these individual stories out there, and I'm just still seeking and looking for that miracle. And so a shameless plug to the listeners that are out there right now, that we'd love to see this movie come to pass, and we'd love to continue to see these individual stories be told. And so if you have a way to part a sea, we want to talk to you about that, because we do believe that that will happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
And we are so thankful for you and Rod's Heroes and your whole team supporting us and believing in us. We're appreciative of that, and look forward to the future. Keep this train rolling down the track.
Most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. So Jackson, I want to ask you about Armenia. And so had you ever been to Eastern Europe before, or spent any time in that neck of the woods?
No, that's as far east as I've ever been. I went to London once before, but that was it. So
Yeah. I remember our time there. We got a chance to be able to go into an orphanage, and we got to spend time at the bakery and spend time with Hovo, the best waiter in the world. We got to spend
Love it.
time at Ottagak, and just a beautiful day there and celebrating all of the amazing disabilities that these individuals have, and the good that they're doing as a result of that. For you, what was that experience like? I mean, you're still young and still full of so much energy and a very kind individual by nature. I'm curious, what was that experience like for you?
Well, it was once again another, I guess, if meeting Jay was a very eye-opening and educational experience for me. This was yet another because I didn't know about orphanages. I know the concept of an orphanage, but it was an abstract concept in my mind and something that I just didn't really have to live thinking about as somebody who was just pursuing making movies for most of my young adult life. And yeah, I guess I just thought that would be an interesting film, that would make an interesting documentary to come over and show, and maybe show some inside scoop that people wouldn't know about. Um, but it really showed me that there's a real calling around adoption, a real calling. And I think everybody should really, if somebody is willing to have a family and have kids, I think it's really, we should take into question, like, why not be open to that calling and seeing and getting to interact and play with the children there, that has made it a very real calling in my mind. And I still think about those kids and I have shared memories, and of course Hovo, it's cool to see him and how, he has a loving family and he is thriving over there in that country. And so it's like, man, we need more people like Hovo. He was so welcoming to me, somebody who is from out of the country. And
That's right.
I didn't take the time to learn his language or anything, but he brought me in and we still had communication and he hugged
That's
me.
right.
So like, it's really, I see every story that we've told since partnering with Rod's Heroes, we've told a lot of adoption stories, and it's always like this win-win in the end. No doubt there's struggles, but as I've also seen, there's struggles in any of our families in any
Anything worth
country.
doing will create struggles.
So yeah, it was very eye-opening to learn and to see and to share those memories and be there to see, okay, yeah, this is a real calling. And maybe not everybody, maybe my path, I don't know if I'll ever adopt, but at least let's come around people who do, or let's encourage somebody who can.
Yeah, you look at it. We had a special guest with us the whole week that we were there, and that's Sophia Sanchez. And so Sophia is a beautiful young lady who has Down syndrome, who was born in Ukraine and spent the first part of her life in an orphanage until the Sanchez family answered the call to adopt her and gave that little superhero a cape. And so now you fast forward, Sophia's 15 or so years old, and you see her just truly singing the song that she's meant to sing. And she's been in movies and she's been a TED Talk speaker, and she's just truly revolutionizing what individuals with Down syndrome are capable of doing. But more importantly than anything, she has been able to sing that song that she is meant to sing. And for me, being around Sophia, you feel unconditional love and you feel 100% acceptance for who I am, all of the scars and all of the things that we all have, right? And she sees past that. And that was made possible for us, all of us, to experience that because the family answered the call to adopt her. And so now you look at what we just experienced a few months ago in Armenia, and we see these children in these orphanages that have an bridled spirit to be able to sing the song that they're meant to sing as well. And all they need is somebody to answer the call and give that superhero a cape. And so it's fun to see. We actually have 9 families in the process of adopting currently a child with Down syndrome from Armenia from this trip, right? And there are other children as well in the process of being adopted. In addition to that, that are children that do not have Down syndrome that also rightfully deserve a family and somebody to love for them. So we are thankful for the relationship and the partnership. I'm so thankful for the experiences we've had thus far, and I can't wait to see where this journey takes us in the future. But you guys have been a great guest. We really appreciate you being on the show. Any parting words before we take off?
Just share the love. If you have the opportunity, if you've never met somebody with Down syndrome, don't be afraid. Get in there, meet them, get to know them, because you are going to be blessed more than you ever imagined.
Yeah. And a big thank you to everybody in the Down syndrome community who has taken us in and welcomed us and just
Shared their stories.
Wow, and been vulnerable and just knows this love that the world is currently in the process of learning about. So everybody is my inspiration that we've met, and you as well, you and your family, Brady. So thank you all for what you do, and thank you to the Rods team as well.
Yeah, very good. Very well said, guys. And we appreciate you being a guest on the show today. Keep up the great work.
You too.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Conquering Your Clownfish. If you liked what we discussed on the podcast today and want to continue the conversation, please visit us at conqueringyourclownfish.com. And please don't forget to subscribe.